Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating, a framework that details exactly how our minds process reality. It's an ancient, incredibly intricate system known as the Compendium of Cognitive Process. Specifically, we'll be breaking down what's called the Five-Sense Door Thought Series. This framework actually fractures a single, fleeting thought into precise, measurable moments.
To wrap our heads around this highly complex psychic law, we're going to move through 5 quick areas. First, the sheer speed of thought. Second, how resonance affects the mind. Third, a really cool 17-bucket conveyor belt analogy. Fourth, the 4 levels of thought intensity. And finally, we'll look at the mind's empty buckets.
So, Section 1, the speed of thought and its unseen frequency. We're talking about something so fast that modern scientific gear still can't fully capture it. Seriously, ask yourself when you look at a shape, hear a noise, or smell something cooking, how quickly is your mind reacting to it? I mean, to us, it feels completely instantaneous, right? But what is the actual literal speed of a single thought processing that information?
Well, get this. The source text reveals something completely astonishing. Over 1 million of these thought moments happen in just a single second. It's a continuous, relentlessly flowing process firing at a remarkably high frequency, way beyond our normal day-to-day conscious perception.
But here is the real magic number to remember: 17. According to the Five-Sense Door Thought Series, every single complete thought process doesn't just happen in one big flash. Not at all. It happens in a highly specific, ordered sequence of exactly 17 thought moments. These are referred to as cittacana.
Moving on to Section 2, Resonance and the Mind. To truly understand how a sensory object triggers those exact 17 moments, we actually need to borrow a core concept from physics.
And that concept is resonance. In physics, resonance is all about finding the natural frequency of an object and inducing it to vibrate faster. Every physical object around us has a natural frequency it vibrates at. And interestingly enough, the mind operates on a remarkably similar principle.
Think about pushing a kid on a swing. It brilliantly illustrates this whole idea. If you push the swing in perfect rhythm with its natural frequency, even a tiny, effortless push produces these massive, sweeping amplitudes. The timing of the push is actually way more important than the physical force behind it.
There's another wild, real-world example of this power. Did you know marching soldiers can actually collapse an entire bridge if their marching frequency perfectly matches the bridge's natural resonance? That is literally why soldiers are strictly ordered to break step when crossing bridges. The resonance creates a massive, destructive, structural vibration.
So, let's apply this physics lesson directly to the mind. When a sensory object, say a visible form or a sudden loud sound, strikes one of your sense doors, known as a dvara, it acts exactly like that perfectly timed marching step on the bridge. It causes your mind to resonate, instantly triggering that precise, unchangeable sequence of exactly 17 thought moments.
Let's look at Section 3, the 17-bucket conveyor belt. How do we actually visualize these 17 moments interacting with each other?
The best way to visualize this psychic law, or chitta niyamaya, is to imagine your mind as a continuously running conveyor belt loaded with exactly 17 empty buckets. As this belt moves along, thoughts flow in a very specific, totally unbreakable order.
Before we set this belt in motion, let's decode the key functions that actually fill these buckets. You've got AB, which stands for the past life continuum. Then there's JV, or Javana. That's the active impulse, and it always arises exactly 7 times in a row. You also have VT for determining if a thought is wholesome or unwholesome. And finally, TD is registration, which always takes up exactly 2 moments, never just 1.
Section 4, 4 levels of intensity. Depending on exactly when our conveyor belt starts getting loaded with a sensory object, we end up with 4 totally different levels of thought intensity.
First up is the Very Great, or Atimahanta thought series. Here, the very first bucket on the belt is loaded immediately. 0 delay. Because of this absolutely perfect timing, the mind utilizes all 17 buckets to their maximum capacity. It runs through the determining phase, hits all 7 Java impulses, and ends neatly with exactly 2 registration, or TOD, moments. But what happens if the loading is just slightly delayed? Well, that brings us to the Great or Mahanta series.
If there's a tiny delay of just 1 or 2 moments before the thought process kicks in, those buckets aren't fully utilized. The first couple of buckets on the belt just slip by totally empty. And here is where the rules get super strict. If a great series ends with only one single bucket left on the belt, a specific psychic law kicks in. The rule states you cannot have just one registration moment, it has to be 2. So since 2 aren't possible with only one slot left, a baseline life continuum moment steps in to fill that final bucket instead. It's a completely rigid mechanical system.
Now, contrasting those with the weaker intensities, we have the slight and very slight series. A slight series, or parita, is delayed by 4 to 9 whole moments. Because of that massive delay, it completely lacks those 7 active jhavana impulses. Even weaker is the very slight series, delayed by up to 15 moments. This basically results in a mogawara, a completely empty series with absolutely no active consciousness processing the object at all.
Finally, Section 5, the mind's empty buckets, or the baseline of existence. What exactly does an empty bucket mean in a framework that is this highly structured?
Well, the biggest takeaway here is that there are actually no truly empty thought moments. That belt is always running. Whenever a bucket goes empty because of a delay, it automatically gets filled with the past life continuum, or atita bhavanga. This is a profound baseline state related to rebirth linking. Basically, your mind is never truly off. It just drops back into this deep baseline.
Which leaves us with this incredible, totally mind-bending question to close out our explainer today. If your mind is actively processing millions of these 17-moment series every single second, constantly shifting back and forth between active impulses and the past life continuum, what unseen frequency is your baseline consciousness vibrating at right this very second? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the hidden architecture of thought. I hope you found this explainer as absolutely fascinating as I did.